Hey y'all, Luna popping in with an unconventional series review. The series is Supernatural, so I'm going to need diehard Supernatural fans to please come to the front. I did not watch this when it originally aired, and I only ran across it about 2 years ago, and I decided to watch it in chronological order from beginning to end, and I have just finished season 14. Supernatural has 15 very long seasons, 22 episodes each, and I only have the remaining series to watch. Please do not provide spoilers for the season 15, as again, I say I did not watch Supernatural when it originally aired. This review, however, will have spoilers of seasons 1 through 14. So if you don't want spoilers, now is the time for you to exit. Let me start by saying that I like the show. I actually love the show. And however, I'm ready for it to be over. It was a very exhausting ride. It has your emotions up and down. It has your adrenaline rushing because they're fighting all types of creatures and they're in survival mode for the entire series. So it can be a little much, but not in a horrible way, just in the maybe I shouldn't. Maybe in the way that I binged a 15-year show into 2 years. I did a lot of binging, and it was challenging at times. I had knots in my stomach watching this show, tense because like, oh God, what's gonna happen, But it was still fun, and I definitely enjoyed the ride. They took us on one hell of a ride. Now let's talk about it. I'm going to pick up around season 13, okay? So we have Bobby. Bobby has been unalived, and he turned into a vengeful spirit, and he had to have his bones salted and burned. So Bobby's gone. We've seen Crowley, the king of hell, be unalived, and he's gone. We've seen, how many times has Sam and Dean been unalived? And they're gone. We've even seen Castiel lose it and be consumed by Legion and those, I can't remember those things that had the head that came out the head, and that guy in the executive offices of some corporation was like this head monster thingy with the teeth. Remember the guy? His natural teeth, and he just had that. He was just so reptilian-ish, and I thought it was very good to see Castiel in a different behavior, He was so stiff and rigid as Castiel in that damn trench coat. I don't know why they made him wear that trench coat for the entire duration of the series. I don't understand why they made him wear that trench coat. Do you? So Lucifer escapes the cage in hell and comes to Earth wreaking all kinds of havoc. He procreates with a human, and a Nephilim son is born. The mother is unalive, giving birth. Lucifer unalives Rowena, burned her to a crisp. She was smoking when they found her. And I don't mean smoking, I mean her body was smoking. And, but she was brought back to life. She was resurrected. The Winchesters, all of them have been resurrected at one point or another. Sam, Dean, Mary, and John, the parents, have been resurrected. at one point or another. I don't understand why they did not resurrect Crowley, the King of Hell. I thought his character was amazing. I loved his sassiness. I loved his smartassery. I loved that. I loved his accent, his delivery. I just really enjoyed that character. And I was very disappointed that he was not resurrected. However, I know I still have one season to go, and maybe he will be resurrected, maybe he won't. Please do not give me the spoilers. As I said, I have never watched this, and I have turned into a diehard Supernatural fan. Sidebar, are you Team Sam or Team Dean? But like I said, I'm a diehard Supernatural fan, and I want to experience the euphoria and the excitement of the final season and the finale without any spoilers. So there, I don't remember how, but there was a rip in time created, and Lucifer followed Sam and Dean into this dimension, and or I'm sorry, Lucifer took Sam and Dean's mother into this dimension, and Sam and Dean went after her to retrieve her. And in this dimension, by the way, was barren, it was void, there was chaos and turmoil, war. It was ruled by the archangel Michael. Michael was bad. Michael was negative. He wanted to rule over everything. And once he found out that there was another dimension that he could slip into, guess what? When Sam and Dean and Mary were and Bobby, because they found Bobby over there, when they were going back to the current Winchester dimension, of course, Michael got through, and as well as Lucifer. But as Lucifer was coming through the rip, he was stabbed by a spear, which turned out to be a very important weapon in season 14. The spear was carried by the double of a person who was in one dimension, and she came through. We thought she was bad, but she wasn't. But she wasn't even a necessary character. The weapon was. Now, further down in this season, Jack, who was Lucifer's son, who was rejected by Lucifer because Jack has the ethics and the morals of his mother. He had her behavior, her demeanor. He didn't want to harm. And Lucifer was angry that his son wouldn't rule by his side as a malevolent being. So he slit his throat and stole his grace and absorbed it into himself, leaving Jack powerless, which caused Jack to be unalived because he couldn't live as a Nephilim. He couldn't live without his grace. Jack was unalive, but he was resurrected. I can't remember who brought him back to life. He was resurrected, but he had some powers, but he wasn't full archangel. Which I don't know if he would be an archangel because he was Lucifer's son. I guess so. I don't know. I don't remember season 15 to help me clarify that. But Jack struggled because saving somebody, resurrecting somebody, he lost his soul, rendering him without any feelings, and he accidentally unalived Mary Winchester. And this time it was complete. Her body was nothing left. There was nothing left of her body but a shell. And Castiel went to heaven to see if Mary was there, because apparently in heaven we all have doors that you walk through. Your door has a little name plate on the door with your date of birth and your last day on earth. And he went there and he verified that Mary was, in fact, in heaven with John, which is very weird because as many times as we've been to heaven, they never showed us that John Winchester was in heaven. I remember very early on in the season when he sold his soul to the devil in order for Dean to live. And so he went to the pit and he was resurrected. But how was he in heaven? I don't understand that. I think that was a mistake. Nick, who is the host body for Lucifer, is now human. And it turns out Lucifer was able to occupy his body because you have to give a yes to these spirits, which is wild because other demons, they could just enter and possess you, but you have to say yes to the archangels, and Lucifer is considered an archangel. So Nick said yes because he had a very dark soul anyway. But the final tipping point for Lucifer to take over was, or for Nick to completely yield to Satan or Lucifer, was the unaliving of Nick's newborn son and his wife. But Nick has negativity ingrained into his DNA by now because of how long Lucifer occupied his body. So we see Nick's struggle with the darkness, but Nick wants the darkness and he is trying to get Lucifer back to occupy his body. But then there's Jack. Jack unalives him, boils him right in front of us, right? And Nick is now no more. After seeing this, we see Jack unalive Mary because he was soulless, and Mary said something. He just, not even with a malevolent intent, he just snapped and he just obliterated her. And that was what the Winchesters were worried about all along, was just he had uncontrollable power. And then God enters the chat, aka Chuck. Long story short, with God, he is a whole jerk. He turns out God is a writer and wrote all these drafts, stories, which turned into multiple dimensions and universes and realities, right? It was like he would start writing it and say, ugh, okay, I don't like that. And he left these lands, these dimensions, without any protection, without him. But it gets worse. He comes back and tells Sam and Dean the only way to get rid of Jack, because he is a viable threat, because he can't control his powers. And he has unalived people accidentally on more than one occasion. So we have to put him down. But God, Chuck, says, here's the weapon, which was a pew-pew. But whoever fires it will suffer the same fate as the victim. They realize that God is really playing them. He considers Earth like a TV show. And he's getting kicks off of us surviving and fighting for our lives. I thought that was exceptionally and intentionally deep. But they're at the place where Dean has the pew-pew and he's going to unalive Jack. And Jack submits because he knows he's a menace. And he's truly, I don't know if he's sorry because he doesn't have a soul, he doesn't have feelings, but he understands that he's out of control. And he submits to allow Dean to unalive him. And you see God, literally, he's standing there next to Sammy, because Castiel prayed to him and said, we need you here, we need you. And it was so deep because God literally was just like watching it. He was licking his chops like, oh my God, wait, this is happening. And Sam said, is this son of a bitch playing us? And he was. It was real crazy. I thought that was really crazy that they made God to be nothing but a, a very powerful being, that he was just manipulating everyone's reality. As a spiritualist, as a witch, as a hoodoo, as an indigenous practitioner, as all of that, honey, an entirely different conversation. The Winchesters refused to unalive Jack. God gets pissed after Sammy pew-pews him, because Sammy was like, yo, God just really played in our faces. Sammy pew-pews him. And God's like, oh, that's what we doing? And Chuck opens up all the corpses in the cemetery. He's like, now you're going to see the end. And that's where season 14 ended. Dean, Sam, and Castiel are standing in the cemetery, surrounded by the living dead, and they're getting ready to fight their way out of it. I mean, obviously they're going to make it because there's a season 15. But this is it's really, I tell you, watching it with spiritual eyes is so different. There's so many Easter eggs, golden nuggets, and hints and cues in this series that it was just like, oh my God, they are really saying this like this. Wow. Let me know what you guys think. Again, please don't give me any spoilers about season 15 and how it ends. I want to have the same thrill and excitement that you did. If you have stayed with me this long through this video, I appreciate you, and you are a diehard fan. Let me know any errors or mistakes that I made. I'm open to that, because it was a lot. It's 14 seasons, Let me know your points, the things that stuck out to you. Let's have a conversation about this, because I love this. I love Supernatural. But it's long, and I'm ready for it to be over. Peace, love, and blessings, y'all. On out.